Hi, everyone. Welcome to Trail Talk. As you can see, we have a very lovely guest. No offense to Mr. Voelker, but I'm referring to this beautiful hawk. Hawk. I don't know if is this hawk especially large, or is this the normal size?
The size is normal. Her coloration is not.
Right. You see hawks flying all the time, and I never realized how large of a bird a hawk actually is. But at any rate, welcome to Trail Talk. This is Bill Voelker. You might remember him from being on a few weeks back. He is from SIA, which is the Comanche Ortho. I can't ever get that whole big title.
The Comanche Nation Ethno-Ornithological Initiative.
Ethno-Ornithological Initiative. I almost got it out. I am from Surreal too, and big words are hard for me. So, but yes, SIA is located in Surreal. You might remember that's my hometown, Mr. Voelker's hometown. So I'm very excited, very proud of our community to be the home for this organization, and very pleased that he came back today and brought some of the birds of prey that they have in what would you call the place where you keep your birds?
Well, the facility is really an eagle and bird of prey cultural center.
A cultural center. Okay. Is it kind of the place where the birds live? You said the last time you have a large acreage where the birds are able to live.
Well, we've got a variety of facilities.
Oh, okay.
We've got large breeding chambers where we set up pairs of eagles and other birds of prey for breeding. Captive breeding has always been our strong suit. Matter of fact, we have the only captive breeding authority for golden eagles in the country, tribal or otherwise. For some reason, the federal government decided they didn't want golden eagles bred in captivity. But how we do it is from the basis of indigenous spirituality. So it's a matter of freedom of religion, and they can't say no. But our work with the breeding of birds like the golden eagle goes back to the late 60s and 70s. And we have produced multiple generations from the same bloodlines of eagles that have importance to ancestors long gone, as well as people today.
And so the newer generations of these birds, do they stay with SIA? Are they ever released?
Actually, Troy and I have produced in captivity and released over 400 bald and golden eagles since the early 1970s.
Wow.
The birds being produced today, there's a greater need for them to be held for cultural reasons. And we share them with many of the different tribes that have the federal authority to allow us to do that. But back in the early days, when the bald eagle was an endangered species, it was important to produce and release every youngster we could. And we feel like we did our share in repopulating with the bald eagle. The golden eagle is our Comanche eagle of choice. Historically, we didn't call on bald eagle energy. That the bald eagle didn't take on any significance for our people until we had young men going off to do battle under the red, white, and blue. And as a national bird, that eagle took on a new significance. But historically, it was strictly the golden eagle. Birds in culture, it's poorly understood the historical basis for calling on the energy of these amazing birds through the feather. That's why SIA is called SIA. That's not an acronym. It's actually a word in our Comanche language. SIA is our word for feather. How our people connect with the energy of birds of prey and other avian species important to us is through the feather. So we wanted to keep the name that our people could identify with nice and simple. The byline, the Comanche Nation Ethno-Ornithological Initiative, which that's for the rest of the world in describing what we do. And
but that's that's important.
It is too, important because we deal with people, governments, organizations all around the world. So from a scientific standpoint, that is very descriptive of what we do in the world.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned before, what is this beautiful bird's name?
We call her Wakia,
Uh-huh.
Comanche word that means actually expelling medicine talk.
Okay.
And we named her in honor of a woman with medicine who was well known in Comanche culture. She is someone who lived about the time of first generation Comanches after being forced into captivity. And so we honor her by calling on that same name.
Right.
And what is so unusual about this particular bird is the fact that this is a red-tailed hawk.
Okay.
Doesn't look like the red-tailed hawks are used to seeing,
No.
because she is what we consider a leucistic bird. She's completely leucistic. Leucism and albinism is something we've been studying on the scientific side for, gosh, just over 40 years now. It is a condition that's poorly understood, why and how it manifests itself in birds of prey. The study of these conditions in other kinds of birds, songbirds, gallinaceous birds, amphibians, reptiles, it's well known, the parameters of how these things happen. Why it's so different in birds of prey, we have no idea. But we've been studying it for all these years. We've documented over 600 cases of this occurring in birds in the wild and then birds that come into captivity. Basically, this condition where there is an absence of pigmentation to the feathers is something that, in birds of prey at least, is very unique, how it's passed on from generation to generation.
So it is passed on.
It is, but not in the dependable genetic way that we know it happens in other kinds of birds.
Right.
So that's what we're studying, trying to understand why. However, the importance of those of us at SIA researching this phenomenon ties in with culture. Everything we do has to have a cultural base. And historically, when our ancestors, we don't have a history of the white buffalo like you hear of on the Northern Plains.
Right.
Big medicine for the people of the Northern Plains. With us, we have no history of it. But we have a very strong historic identity with all white birds of prey in our culture. So at the same time, we're engaged in the science of this phenomenon and studying it, trying to get a handle on it for the whole world. We can do it from a standpoint of cultural reverence, because our ancestors, in seeing a bird like this, that is so different from all the other members of a race, our ancestors perceived that this is a bird that's been touched by the hand of the Almighty. That makes it what we consider a medicine bird, and then the feathers that come from a bird like this as medicine feathers, feathers that have even greater importance as we offer prayer and go to the Almighty. As you see, the feathers are affected, the beak, which should be black, is affected.
I was curious, I was going to ask about that.
And the talons as well. And the eyes are affected. In leucism, the eyes get affected. And as time goes on, the birds have a weaker eye. With albinism that we see, where it's pure white, or at least portions of the plumage are pure white, usually the eyes are typical dark, like a normal red tail. And albinistic birds with the dark eye, they can live a full life in the wild. We've charted at 25 to 28 years in the wild. So it's two different conditions. The roots are the same, but again, that's the scientific side. The cultural side is being a medicine bird, or perceived as such.
Right.
It used to be that our elders would come to pray with these birds, to sing and interact with them. With so many of our elders gone now, that isn't as common an occurrence, but we certainly keep that tradition going and see it.
Right, right. So how many, do you have many birds that have one of these conditions at SIA?
Troy might know the number offhand.
Troy disappeared.
He likes to stay out of camera range. I think we've got probably 9 red tails that have either come out of the wild due to injuries, as did this bird, or birds that we've produced from these bloodlines. But we're a long way from being able to answer the questions of, how this feature is transmitted genetically. Yes.
That is so interesting. Obviously it's recessive if it's at all attached to the genetic code, but That is just something.
We've seen characters that speak to both sides.
Huh.
We're seeing, we produce young birds that are totally normal of plumage in their first and second year. Only near full adulthood did they start developing feathers with no pigmentation. We have birds that have come in mostly white, revert to near total normal, and then revert back again. Albinism or leucism is not supposed to behave that way. Why it's so different in birds of prey, we still don't know, but we're working in earnest to try to answer some of these questions.
Right. Wow. So interesting. So tell me kind of, I know that birds are lighter than what like their peer, their bones are hollow and all of that. So about how much would you guess that she weighs?
Wakia is an adult female. The adults carry a little more weight than the young birds do. I'd say she's probably average size for most races of red-tailed hawks. And she's weighing in at, about 3.5 pounds.
I would so have thought she at least weighs 10 pounds.
Okay. Well, the feathers have no weight. As you mentioned, the bones are hollow. And the only real muscle meat on a bird of prey like this is a pectoral mass that is designed to power the wings. So,
wow. So she'd just be a little skinny thing if she didn't have all those feathers puffed up on her. She is just so beautiful though. And do they, like, would she mate with only a hawk with her same coloration, or does that not seem to matter?
it doesn't matter at all. We see cases in the wild where a white bird is mated with a totally normal bird and there's no discernment, which has always been a puzzlement to us.
Right.
In the case of this particular bird, even though she was parent raised in the wild, she had quite an awful interaction with another wild red-tail, not related to her, shortly after she took her first flight. We think the other red-tail may have thought she was a chicken, being pure white and on the ground and attacked her, drove a talon through the lower mandible into the skull, and she was lucky to survive.
Wow.
But because of that bad incident, she hasn't allowed another bird anywhere near her. And so we've got a plan for how we might try to get around that. She does lay eggs. She does raise her own young. She raises foster young. Our thought is if we allow her to raise one of the young male red tails from another pair and let that youngster stay with her, there might be the possibility of being able to get a pairing formed. But it's another experiment.
Wow. And so is it just you and Troy spending time with the birds and working and
Well, the structure of
this?
SIA is Troy and I are co-founders and co-directors of the organization. We've got many people that assist us on either a volunteer basis or partial employment, but without getting any support from the Comanche Nation, it impacts what we're able to do with much of our work. Our work that involve we have the largest species collection of eagles found anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. The non-native eagle work pays for itself. We have interactions with organizations and zoos around the world, and we're breeding threatened and endangered species, and are involved in reintroduction programs and the like, and that work pays for itself. It's just, it's hard to raise money for Comanche eagles and birds that everyone thinks, well, this casino tribe should have plenty of money to support that. Not the case, but it doesn't stop our work. It may slow it down, but doesn't stop it.
Well, and that's your focus. I mean, that's why you established your organization, right? For the tribal restoration and
it's all about keeping our culture alive.
Right.
And the work with the living bird is a primary focus, but as we mentioned in our last trail talk together, we've amassed the most significant archive on Comanche history ever put together. Photographic images, unpublished documents, and numbering over 500,000, material culture that we care for. but we focus primarily on the living bird as it applies to the culture. So this is life's work. This isn't a job Troy and I ever aspired to do. This is why we were put on the earth, to do what we do for our people. But we live at a time where we just don't have enough traditionally living Comanches. Everyone's concerned about casinos and all the other non-traditional aspects of the people.
Right.
And would make, it's what makes our work more difficult. We jokingly say, but it's really not a joke. The most endangered species that we deal with is the traditional Comanche. So, but
Right.
you know, we're here for a reason, and the universe has us in this particular place and time to do the best we can do to keep our ways with avian species of cultural importance alive for future generations.
So you mentioned eagles and hawks, birds of prey. Just kind of, what are some of, is it only birds of prey that you have?
No.
Okay.
But it's not just what birds we have in the collection, it's what birds we're engaged with field studies. We take on a very serious role in regard to the conservation of birds that still have cultural importance to us. Our field work has us out at times of the year where we document and record populations, food habits of a great variety of birds, not just birds of prey, that we have cultural need for. We maintain the only tribal federally permitted feather repository in the nation, where we accept molted feathers and carcasses from federally permitted sources. We process, clean those feathers, and we can provide them for distribution to any member of a federally recognized tribe. I think we're up near 160 some odd different tribes that we've assisted with feathers. And depending on the tribe, there's need of all kinds of feathers. The Pueblos of the desert Southwest, they have spring ceremonies where they need warbler feathers. We have rehabilitators in the eastern part of the country that, you know, small songbirds are difficult to rehabilitate. And when they lose a bird, they freeze it, and we get those carcasses and then can pass them on to the Pueblos, who have a great need for those specific birds. Woodpeckers have a great importance to so many different tribes, water birds of various types. So depending on your tribal background and tribal history, there are many different species that are in need. And through the Feather Repository, we can meet those needs.
Right. You guys are just, there's a lot going on. I'm kind of blown away whenever I think about it, actually. So you brought another feathered friend.
I did, and I think I'll pass Wakiao off to Troy here, if he wouldn't mind.
Troy is going to try to only put his arm in front of the camera. Oh, look,
I tried to pull it in.
Yeah,
Thanks, Troy.
he's not even speaking. He doesn't want to be heard.
You wouldn't think Troy would be the shot.
Right. So, while he's getting the eagle, this is a golden eagle.
It is.
And you said that the golden eagle is the one that is, has the, I don't know what to say this wrong, the most meaningful, it's the most meaningful bird to the Comanche people.
When it comes to our two native eagles, it's the golden eagle exclusively that we called on historically. Using bald eagle energy only happened after we were forced into captivity and after our young men were going off to battle for the United States. But historically, the golden eagle in our days of freedom was our eagle of choice.
And has the golden eagle ever been endangered or watched because of the diminished population, or?
Fortunately, technically, the golden eagle has never been endangered or even threatened in its range in North America. However, being non-endangered, non-threatened, it allowed us to utilize the golden eagle as a pilot species for refining techniques like artificial insemination and various other techniques for breeding the species in captivity. So we mastered techniques using the golden eagle and then applied them to endangered species like the bald eagle. And unfortunately, now the bird is off the bald eagle is off the endangered list, but it has cousins around the world that are now endangered. So we can use those same techniques. The reality of the population situation with our golden eagle in North America, we probably have more threats to the bird today than we ever had historically. Wind energy is costing us the lives of many a golden eagle.
Wow.
We do a historic golden eagle nesting survey. This was year 52 of retracing our Comanche migration route from when we left the high country of the Rockies and came onto the Southern Plains. And right through the heart of this historic range, we're seeing wind farms to the tune of what, over 3,000 in the central part of the range.
Oh,
So
wow.
all the data we've been collecting for the last, 52 years is now coming into play in a bigger way.
Wow,
So,
a way sadly you had not anticipated.
no, we have not.
Come on, Troy.
I'll let you keep this.
Her wingspan is pretty massive.
Just hold it. Hey, girl. Try to get centered here with the camera.
There we go.
Okay, a little bigger bird
A
here.
little bit bigger, yes, wow.
Yes, this is Yapatzone, another Comanche word,
Uh-huh.
Comanche name. All of our golden eagles bear Comanche names.
Mhm.
And Yapatzone is third generation captive produced. What that means is we had the great blessings of working with this bird's grandparent eagles back in the late 60s and 70s, from which we produced her mother
Mhm.
and have produced a Yapatzone. And with Yapatzone, come next spring, we'll probably be hatching fourth generation captive produced. So
Wow. What is that thing she's doing? Is it just a?
she's responding to the tones in my voice. There are
Wow.
people that work with eagles that will say the birds are talking to it. It's actually the response to tones in my voice.
Her legs are extremely large.
Well,
Okay,
Yapatzone is what we would consider an average size
Okay.
female golden eagle. And all birds of prey, the females are generally much larger than the males.
Mhm.
Yapatzone is about a 14.5-pound eagle. The male eagles average 6 to 7.5 pounds. So in some cases are over twice the weight.
Right.
And Yapatzone is now fully adult of plumage. She's 6 years old. She was hatched at our facility. Actually, her egg was hatched in an incubator. And she was hand raised from day one, very deliberately. If you have a young eagle you're producing to be released to the wild, those birds are raised by parent eagles and they don't even see people until they're ready to go to the release site.
Mhm.
But in the case of Yapatzone here, we knew the year she hatched, we had a need for adding another female golden eagle to the lineup of educational and ceremonial eagles.
Mhm.
And so from day one, she's hand raised and totally socialized. So a bird like her grows up thinking either, this putting in simple terms, but either we're all eagles or she's a people, but she's one of us,
Right,
basically.
Right.
And that's what's necessary for calling on the energy of an eagle like her
Mhm.
in ceremony. She has to be conditioned where she is good and walking into any ceremony, whether it's in a teepee, in a hogan, in a house, or a hospital. And we have ceremonial ways where the live eagle energy is called on and used in the healing process. So she has to be good with, as long as I'm present, to allow an eagle priest, somebody maybe she has never met before,
Mhm.
call on her heart energy, as I'm doing here,
Mhm.
and then transfer that energy to the person being doctored.
Mhm.
And she's used to all that. She started taking her first rides in a vehicle when she was 30 days of age. We have a portable nest bowl. And so she has to be totally at ease with anything involved in the human situation.
Right.
And as you can
Right.
see, she's.
She is, yeah, she seems very relaxed.
She is.
So have you seen white golden eagles? Like the hawk?
Like the hawk, no.
Interesting.
We one.
Yeah.
I have to rethink that. There was one golden eagle that came in where it was largely non-pigmented plumage. Unfortunately, that bird became involved in a federal battle where the people involved that originally tried to care for the bird didn't want to do the right thing for her, and so tied her up in a legal battle. And unfortunately, that bird didn't live the long life it should have. But in answer to your question, very basically, yes, that does happen in birds like golden eagle. It's far rarer
Really?
to happen, yes.
Which makes it even more interesting, I would think, in trying to figure all that out.
Oh, it does, yes.
And so she's one of your educational birds. So I mean, you talked about using her for the medicine, for doctoring people, but for education purposes, what kind of places do you go to?
Oh, she's been all over the country. The authority of our federal permit under which she was produced allows us to travel to any state that we have corresponding permits with. She's been as far as Wyoming and Utah. Actually, she was present when our friends from Mongolia came to the United States for one of the film festivals, and they couldn't travel with their golden eagles from Mongolia that they fly and hunt with. So we met them here, and Yapadzone represented her species with them. So they could be present with the movie The Eagle Huntress was the one that received a lot of attention, and Yapadzone was a fill-in for a Mongolian golden eagle.
Do they look exactly the same?
This is an important point. The golden eagle is circumpolar in distribution, meaning it's found all around the world. So the golden eagles of Kyrgyzstan and Mongolia, of Japan, of Scotland, the species is all the same, and they look nearly identical. There's some size difference depending on the race. There's some tonal difference in the overall plumage, but basically it's all the same golden eagle. A lot of our Comanche people have converted to Christianity and have shied away from traditional ways. And we like to use the fact that the golden eagle of the Old and New Testament, the golden eagle of Mount Sinai, is a golden eagle, the same species that our people called on historically in our old ways. So it's kind of the unifying factor.
Right, but how interesting. So by making that point, I'm guessing then like other types of eagles vary around the world as far as their species.
There's a great variation. There are 57, roughly 57. I say roughly because science is still juggling some of the species of eagles. Not all of the eagles are large like the golden eagle here. Some of the tropical eagles are no bigger than our red-tailed hawks, actually sometimes smaller. We care for eagles from 5 continents. And when you come to visit SIA,
right?
I'm sure you will.
It's on my bucket list.
You'll see some of the Amazonian hawk eagles that are crested, fiery eyes, and totally different look than our North Temperate Zone eagle, like a golden eagle. But there's great variety, and we normally try to bring non-native species as well as our native species just to show the great variety. This is something that is certainly of interest to younger audiences.
Oh, I'm sure. So all of this research and everything, do you have like a laboratory that you use?
We do, but we partner as often as we can with other organizations that have even finer laboratory potential than we do. The Raptor Center from the University of Minnesota, they actually brought a team of scientists down and all their equipment and turned one of our buildings at SIA into a laboratory for the testing of sound capability with golden eagles. In regard to wind energy, one thought has been if we could incorporate some audio ability to sound and alarm to keep eagles from coming close.
Right.
But we didn't have the baseline of at what decibel level the eagles can hear. And so we had to do that initial study, and SIA provided the golden eagles in the collection, since we have one of the largest collections of golden eagles, for that sound study. And so that's the reason U of M was down with their scientists to research this aspect of eagle biology that had never been studied before. We incorporated that with our annual health checks with the birds. So it wasn't just, imposing on the birds for this study. We made it work with the rest of the annual biological
Did they have
work.
little headphones they put on?
They had no headphones. They were put under a light anesthesia, actually more entailed than that.
Right.
And two little, Troy? Electrodes were put at the hearing level in the skull. And from there, the birds were hooked up to a barrage of equipment that registered exactly. They
Like brain activity for
did.
different decibels?
Yes, yes.
How cool.
And one of the most interesting aspects of this study, while they were with us almost a week, one of the most interesting aspects of the work was we had talked with them about, a fully flighted eagle like this gets to fly. We have acreage set up where, an eagle that has both wings and is healthy is given a chance to be everything an eagle's supposed to be. And we train the golden eagle to an eagle bone whistle. This is a historic whistle that was made from the largest wing bone of the eagle. And we have historic whistles that we pass down, that we condition the birds with. Well, these scientists were having a hard time getting their head around the fact that we can use this whistle and call an eagle down out of the sky. And so push came to shove, and we used our historic eagle bone whistles, and they did the sound readings on what decibel points were being created. And it proved, like we had told them, that the eagles can certainly hear this at great distances.
Is it like a dog whistle? Like you can't hear it?
Oh, no, you can hear it.
You can hear it.
You can hear it, but it's generally considered a ceremonial kind of a whistle. It's used in Sundance with some tribes, and it's used for very specific ceremonies, individual ceremonies with our Comanche culture. But it is something that has worked incredibly well with our golden eagles that we are so lucky to be able to free fly. And there are falconers that will take an eagle and train it to hunt with it. But the process involves the falconer having to cut the rations of the bird down to where it's hungry and it's coming to the falconer simply for food. We never have to do that because an eagle like Yapetsoni, she is connected with us as her parent. And we can take her out, fly her fully fat. She doesn't have to miss a meal to do that because she's not going to let the parent leave her in the field. That morphs into the condition where Yapetsoni and I are now mated. And in the spring, I have to sing with her, provide her nesting material. And she hasn't laid yet. That will probably come next year. But the other eagles raised like Yapetsoni, we go through nest building. And an eagle that's imprinted to humans like that actually presents herself for copulation, where we then in turn take the semen that comes from males that are raised the same way, who are actually mating on the glove that we collect from and then use it to inseminate. So this term that we use, artificial insemination, it sounds like we're doing terrible things to the birds, but in reality, the birds are responding to us the way they would their mate in nature. And we're just, and this is holy work. This is, involved with our cultural sensitivity. And so, you're looking at the living example of a bird, the result of this very sacred aspect of our work, done very specifically in our Comanche nuance.
So when they lay eggs, like what size would?
About the size of a goose egg, but not as long.
Okay.
More rounded. And a bird like a golden eagle will normally lay 2 eggs per nesting attempt if they're left alone. We found early on, if you remove the egg shortly after it's laid, it can induce the birds to lay replacement eggs. So for an endangered species, you want to produce as many fertile eggs in a given season as you can. And so we've tested that with golden eagles to see see how far we can push that. And there are some eagles in the world that are a single egg laying species, meaning they only lay 1 egg per year.
Wow.
So your chances of making or breaking it in just 1 egg. So it's very useful to find out if it's a species that if we remove the egg quickly, they can or will be prone to lay a replacement egg. That's why all the key pairs of eagles have cameras on the nesting ledge, so we can see just what's happening at every moment.
Wow. I had not even thought about that, which that would add to the endangerment happening if they are only laying one egg.
Correct.
Wow.
Well, the Hawaiian
That's-
hawk, the only diurnal daytime bird of
Right.
prey on the Hawaiian Islands, was an endangered species from the inception of the Endangered Species Act. We produced the world's first at SIA ever produced in captivity, but there again, it was a single egg species.
Wow.
But fortunately, for the work, if we remove the egg immediately, actually, the eggs were usually still moist. The female would lay a replacement egg. Not every species will do that.
So, and what kind of space of time would there
With a
be?
bird like a hawk, like the Hawaiian hawk,
Uh-huh.
red-tailed hawk, it's generally 72 hours.
Really?
With the golden eagle, it can be 72 hours. Sometimes it's another 12 hours.
Hmm.
Each
Wow.
species is different.
Wow. That is so interesting. Very interesting. And I'm just looking at those massive talons. How, like
Well,
you
that's how
said,
they earn their living. If you look,
Right.
if the camera can focus on the rear talon, that's the one we call the helix.
yes.
And the three toes forward will help in the grasping of prey items. It's the rear talon that is thrust into the body cavity by that powerful toe that
uh-huh.
takes the life of the creature.
So, how, like you said, she weighs about 14
14 and a half.
14 and a half pounds. How heavy of a prey could she pick up and carry?
In dead weight from the ground, not that much. But generally, where golden eagles live, there are wind currents that they rely on for
Mhm.
carrying larger game skyward. If the game they take down is too large, they'll tear it into smaller pieces to, say, carry it back to the nest.
Right.
But we've watched birds like Yapatsona here in their natural habitat team up, a male and a female, and take down a doe antelope. So there's no denying how
Wow.
large a creature they can take down. It's just what they do on a normal basis is more things
Right.
more like jackrabbits,
Mhm.
prairie dogs, sage grouse.
Right, right. Wow, that is something. She
And
is,
she's got about
Oh.
7.5 foot wing spread when it's fully, you can see that there.
wow. She's majestic.
And she is, as I mentioned, in full adult plumage. The golden eagle, when they leave the nest, their first set of tail feathers are that classic black and white tail feather you see in so many headdresses and things.
Oh, okay.
They carry that plumage only the first year of their life. At the end of the first year, those feathers are molted, and the feathers that grow in have far less white and more dark pigment until you come up with a totally dark pigmented plumage like she's carrying now.
Right. Well, I had no idea about that, but you mentioned the black and white feathers. That's probably the most common feathers that I think about in the regalias I've seen. So, wow, that is.
It is, and our people don't understand those feathers are carried 1 year
Yes.
only. And
It makes them even more special
and
and
harder
rare.
to come by.
Right.
Because of our feather distribution capabilities legally, everyone's calling for first year golden eagle tail feathers.
Mhm, mhm.
And sometimes I think people don't even believe it when we tell them, they're in such short supply because the birds only carry those the first year of their life.
So when a headdress is made, like the big, with the feathers that go back and then comes down here, how many feathers would that require?
It depends on the tribal background.
Say for a Comanche.
For a
then-
Comanche, you're talking basically 42 feathers were utilized. And
And-
we didn't have traditionally the long trail bonnets you see on the
Okay.
northern plains, which can take 80 plus feathers.
And so how many tail feathers?
12.
Wow. I feel like that's really bringing it home for people to really grasp.
And a
the-
bird like a golden eagle, just because they've got 12 tail feathers doesn't mean they molt them every year. Basically, they will molt the feathers that need to be molted first.
Mhm.
Generally, a golden eagle will replace 12 tail feathers a year. So it doubles the time that it would
Mhm.
take to acquire a full tail set. And it's amazing, if an eagle breaks a feather and carries that broken tail feather, when the molting season comes about, the broken feather will be the first to be replaced. It's very tactile. They can feel that missing part of a feather as the tail opens and closes, and those broken feathers will be the first to be dropped.
First to drop.
Yes.
Wow. I just love all that. That's
Well,
so
nature is
interesting.
provided beautifully.
Mhm.
Normal plumage. Matter of fact, she did this not too long ago in front of visitors. A bird like golden eagle and red-tailed hawks to some extent will drop pairs of feathers almost simultaneously, certainly within the same day. What that means is, say the first primary wing feather of this wing is dropped, the corresponding feather in the other wing will be dropped. And so at no time is the bird's flight impaired because of the molt.
Right. One feather can make a difference.
Oh, it can.
And I mean, how many feathers would she have on a wing?
There were 10 primary wing feathers. Those are the feathers at the end of the
big ones,
wing, a notched feather for the most part. And then the secondary wing feathers that go from the primaries to near the body, depending on the eagle species, can be as many as 20 or 22. And then some of the strongest, most important feathers are the feathers that actually, you'll see them right here. The epaulets and the tertiaries, those are the feathers that join the wing to the body. And those feathers are designed remarkably strong. And that's another whole grouping of feathers aside from. The feathers grow in coordination with the bones. Our skeletal structure is much the same, but it's tied in with the bony area. The primaries being connected to the carpal area, like the finger bone area. And actually, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite feather on an eagle? And, you know, normally hard to say, but I've always felt this feather you see right there.
Okay, yeah.
That's called the alula.
That's one feather.
There's a cluster of feathers
Okay,
there.
okay.
The alula are attached to the thumb digit. These feathers, if you watch slow motion eagles in flight, they are so important in directing air current and maneuvering, you know, the whole flight process.
Like the things that go down on the airplane wings and all that.
And the name's usually at the tip of my tongue. Troy might remember that. But anyway, it's the most important part of the wing.
So these little places where there's white fuzzy, is that a molt thing going on?
It's part of the downy base of those
okay.
feathers on the leading edge. The leading edge of the eagle's wing is much like that of an aircraft. It's, you know, a combination of many small but sturdy feathers that give that roll to the leading edge of the wing.
And what time of year do they molt?
Depending on whether it's a breeding bird or not. If it's a breeding adult, the molt doesn't start until after egg laying and actually the first rearing of young. And in our area, from usually end of April through the beginning of October.
Oh, okay, okay.
So she has just finished the molt, and the last feathers to be dropped and replaced are the hackle feathers, the feathers on the back of the head. Of course, that's where the bird gets the name golden eagle, from the tawny golden color to those hackle feathers.
Right.
And those are dropped slowly during the course of the summer.
She's just beautiful.
Oh, she is.
Does she get to go hunt then?
Well, we've got to be clear. We don't hunt the eagles. We give them the ability for free flight.
Okay, all right. So she's fed, but she's
and I make that point only because the regulations,
right.
You know, despite our spiritual cultural tie with these great birds, goes back long before the white man ever stepped foot on this continent.
Right.
We still today have to abide by the letter of the law. And if we would be out deliberately hunting with the golden eagle, that takes another whole group of federal and state permits.
Wow.
So we choose not to hunt the birds, but we do give them every opportunity to enjoy.
To fly. Well,
and that's the important part, letting an eagle be an eagle.
Right, exactly, exactly. So you go to places, people contact you when there's a one of these birds of prey to for you to assist. Is that?
No, and this is a point we were talking about in
Right,
emails.
right.
We are not a rescue center.
Right.
We are not a rehabilitation center.
Mhm,
Although people call all the time thinking, misinterpreting what we do.
mhm,
But we have several fine rehabilitation centers here in Oklahoma, over at Wild Care over at Noble, Oklahoma.
mhm.
Excellent facility, decades have been working on rehabilitation. The Iowa tribe has rehabilitation capabilities for eagles specifically. That can be a full-time job in and of itself. What we do provide is permanent homes for eagles that survive rehabilitation, but can't be repaired well enough to release to the wild. So an eagle like that, we will at times provide a permanent home, guaranteeing that they will be with us. And even if an eagle is injured and cannot fly, that doesn't mean they can't be used to produce offspring. We have several pairs of totally crippled wing damaged eagles
Mhm.
that go through nesting each year, lay eggs, and we produce young from.
And so, Wanea, did I say that right? The white bird?
Wakia.
Wakia. So she was rehabilitated somewhere
Yes,
else,
yes.
and then came to
Right,
Sia.
right.
Okay.
The world of birds and bird people is very small, really. And since we're known for being the only entity that's conducting an in-depth study of albinism and leucism in birds of prey, anytime a bird with white plumage shows up, we usually get called about it.
You guys are well networked.
Well, after doing this for as many decades as we have.
Well,
yes.
absolutely, absolutely. So what other things would you like people to know about Sia and about your birds?
Well, unfortunately, we're living in a time where COVID has us shut down.
Do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
Well,
for
we're
that?
certainly hopeful. We're hopeful. But once we're back open, we hear it all the time that, oh, we never heard of you, didn't know you existed. We think we get a lot of press, but we're not out there shouting from the rooftops about our
Right.
work, because that wouldn't be the Comanche way. But we offer for viewing eagles from 5 continents that even if you're not specifically in tune with indigenous culture, the eagles from other parts of the world are of great interest to visitors. Then we have, of course, the archive and that which ties in with indigenous species of North America. But hopefully we won't be in lockdown too much longer, and we can invite people to come back and enjoy all that Sia is about.
Right. Well, we certainly hope you'll let us know so we can help spread that word.
We will do that.
Yes, and maybe you guys can come again and bring these beautiful birds with you and give some other people a chance to see them up close. I mean, honestly, I had no idea a red-tailed hawk was that big. And I know he said she only weighs 3 pounds, but still, she was pretty massive.
Well, the educational message is important, and not just for our own people, but for everyone, because sharing the same space and air with a bird like this is going to impact you, especially the youth. And we unfortunately still have people that abuse these birds in the wild. And so getting the message across, nobody does it better than the birds themselves.
Right. Oh, for sure. That's so true. I'm so glad that you came today.
It's good to be with
Troy,
you
we're
again.
glad you came too. Troy's waving silently from off camera. He's not silent. If the camera wasn't on, you could hear him, I assure you. Anyway, you guys keep your eyes open and look and see if when Sia opens, and go give them a visit.
Baby girl.
Thank you. I wanted to do that so much. Oh, that was
She
awesome.
could tell you haven't been to see him.
He's
Good to be with you.
Oh, he's really taking it home now off camera. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Voelker. We just appreciate you coming and bringing these majestic birds with you. And anyway, thank you guys for watching Trail Talk today. We have flies today, which is a little bit unusual too. Be sure and tell your friends about this episode and share it with other people. And it's time for us to say happy trails. Okay. He doesn't like to do this. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Happy trails.
Happy trails.